A big thanks to Wanted Dead for sponsoring today's video. Hey, it's Lemon. Welcome to the Backlogs. A few months ago, I noticed something strange. As the content creator who's known for doing his best to make everything in video games explode into flames, it's kind of weird that I haven't done a pyromancy only run in any entry of the Souls series. It's not like I have an excuse either. Pyromancy is known for being some of the most overpowered magic there is in the Souls series, especially in Dark Souls 1, which is really weird when you think about it. After all, pyromancy doesn't scale with any stats. Wouldn't that make it weaker than other magic? Nope, not even close. And I think it has something to do with the way they tried to balance it. See, unlike other magics in the game, there's only one spell tool for pyromancy, the Pyromancy Flame. What's more, the Pyromancy Flame is the only spell tool that can actually be upgraded in Dark Souls 1. Every other spell tool is static, and their stats will never change. Which leads to an interesting dilemma, because not only does it become one of the strongest spell tools in the game, it doesn't require any stats to use, nor do any of the pyromancy spells. And because you don't need any upgrade materials to increase its damage, well, you've got eyes. Because of this, a pyromancy only run is usually one of the first suggestions whenever someone expresses interest in challenge running Dark Souls 1. And I agree with that decision. It's limiting enough that you'll have to start thinking outside the box, but also easy enough that you won't find yourself smashing your head against a brick wall for hours on end. Which is actually the problem. Because a pyromancy run is so accessible, there's really not much to say about it. Sure, there's a few parts where the bosses are immune to pyromancy, like Quelaag here, but if you summon in Mildred, you've as good as won, and everything else in the game might as well be made of paper. I found myself breezing through the game, nearly half asleep, and started to wonder what I was even doing. Like, what was the point? Everyone who's ever tried a challenge run in Dark Souls knows the ins and outs of a pyromancy only run, to the point where people actively have to do it at soul level 1 to feel an inkling of challenge. And don't get me wrong, I'm always happy to give myself a break from some of the harder videos I've made, but this just felt wrong. For a minute there, I thought the challenge would be to find a way around the remaining fireproof walls in the run, namely Ceaseless Discharge and the Bed of Chaos. But yeah, no, found a solution for that too. Because Black Flame does a combination of fire and physical damage, you can get the 5 hits you need on Ceaseless to make him fall, take the Isolus shortcut to the Bed of Chaos, and give the Bed of Chaos a light touch to more or less finish the run. Obviously, the Centipede Demon causes a slight hiccup in the run, since the physical damage of Black Flame is embarrassingly low, but if you're willing to use glitches, you can easily shove it through a wall and into the abyss, or if you want to remain glitchless, you could even play Escort Quest and have Solaire kill it for you. But after 5 short hours, that was it. Dark Souls 1, beaten with only pyromancy. Nothing. I feel nothing. And because of that, this video sat on my hard drive for months, never to be seen again. Until it hit me. I wasn't limiting myself enough. You can absolutely beat Dark Souls 1 with only pyromancy, but the real question is, can you beat it with the worst pyromancy in the game? No, not that one, you get out of here. No, I'm talking about Fire Surge. Oh sure, you know about it now, but only because it had a single shining moment in the one-shot challenge. There's a reason it went unnoticed for over a decade, and I think it's time we find out why. Today, we're gonna find out. Can you beat Dark Souls 1 with only Fire Surge? Now then, let's talk about getting this run off the ground. You need 2 things to make this run work: a Pyromancy Flame and Fire Surge. Picking a Pyromancer for my starting class solves problem number 1, but problem number 2 is actually impossible, due to the fact that Fire Surge is all the way in the Painted World. So, for those of you who are literally on the edge of your seats waiting for it, go ahead and type it down below. You cannot, in fact, beat Dark Souls 1 with only Fire Surge. But if you squint a little harder, you'll notice that you don't start with Fireball at all. Yup, definitely been the case since Dark Souls launched. Honestly, chat, you should really get your eyes checked. And with that eye exam scheduled, I think it's time we had some fun with
Huh, that is fun. And you know what else is fun? Wanted Dead. Play as Hannah Stone, a police officer who dishes out gun-kata justice by day and entire pallets of ramen by night. Hack and slash your way through the mafia, corporate terrorism, and ninjas. No, I don't know why, you're asking the wrong questions. What you should really be asking is how many cooking show segments are hidden throughout the game. Wait, is that even legal? And good news! If you were on the fence about playing Wanted Dead, or struggled with it in the past, there's a new update that launched earlier this year that added several new skills, made several balance changes to the combat, optimized graphics and frame rates, and fixed several bugs as well. And if that wasn't enough, there's both a sale and a giveaway happening right now. Wanted Dead is now 60% off on PlayStation 4 and 5 until August 14th. And if you want a chance to win a Wanted Dead press kit, you can click on the link in the description below. The press kit has some really cool stuff, like 2 Stephanie Houston vinyls, the Wanted Dead soundtrack, a literal cookbook, because of course it does, and a grenade. Warning, grenade is actually a replica and will not explode if you pull the pin. So, if any of that sounds good to you, feel free to check out my links in the description below and let Wanted Dead know I sent ya. Right, Lemon? Oh.
Now then, the Asylum Demon. Let's see what we're up against. Right about now, you're probably noticing 2 things. Fire Surge's cast number, and the Asylum Demon's health bar. Because Dark Souls doesn't have a mana bar, Fire Surge's cast number is essentially that, a mana bar. Press and hold the attack button, and flames come out while the number goes down. Run out of number, and the flames stop. Simple enough. As for the demon's health bar, wait, where'd it go? So, Fire Surge is pretty darn good. Or at least, it seems like that at first. But looks can be misleading, and this is definitely one of those times. Take the Taurus Demon. No, please, take him. If you take him, we can keep going. Please, take him! You'll notice that in the time that it took to go from the first boss to the second boss, our spell of choice has gone from hero to 0. Why is that? Well, while I use the Master Key to take some backyard shortcuts, let's go over the numbers. We technically have 80 blasts of Fire Surge. Fire Surge damage, like all spells, is determined by the spell tool's Magic Adjust stat. For a +0 Pyromancy Flame, that number is 100. Fire Surge's damage is equal to 0.38 times the Magic Adjust, aka 38% of whatever your Magic Adjust is. So, with some simple math, the base damage of Fire Surge with a +0 Pyro Flame is 38. 38 times 80 is 3040, which sounds great, especially considering the Taurus Demon only has 1215 health. But we have video proof that that's not what's happening, so what gives? Well, while I may not be a master hacker that can show you debug screens and hitboxes, I can tell you from experience that all of those 80 flames, yeah, you're not getting all 80 of those flames. I'm sure someone smarter than me will drop the exact math of what's going on down in the comments, but for my 2 cents worth, all you need to know is that our flamethrower has quantity, but not quality, which means we need to beef up that chip damage, starting with the red Tearstone ring. And after taking the backdoor shortcut through Blighttown, and several moments of panic when I realized just how bad Fire Surge is, I was finally able to make my way back up the rickety ladders and walkways, and grab Power Within with 0 issues whatsoever. Yup, not even close. But while the RTSR and Power Within both help a lot, what we really need is a way to upgrade our Pyro Flame. And unfortunately, there's only 2 people who can do that for us, Laurentius and Ingi. Laurentius is stuck behind the Capra Demon, so that's probably a no-go, and Ingi is behind Quelaag, who just so happens to be fireproof. Not exactly great options. But considering Mildred here is gravity impaired, and Quelaag is only a few hundred feet away, we might as well give her a whirl. I mean, really, how bad could it be? Yeah. Oh, this is gonna be bad. Mildred, if you're gonna wear a bag over your head to intimidate your enemies, can you please make sure it's breathable first? Seriously, we're all worried about you. It eventually got so bad that Mildred herself wanted out of the fight. Oh, you thought you had a choice? No, you get back in there and you show Quelaag the true meaning of pain. That's technically what I asked for, I guess. Mildred's malicious compliance aside, after many tries, we were finally able to get a solid attempt. Also, did you know, fire attacks may not damage Quelaag, but they do get her attention, and sometimes that's all you need to get across the finish line. And with Quelaag finally dead, and Mildred still sucking down microplastics, we give the bell a ring and can push forward to the Chaos Covenant and upgrade our Pyromancy Flame. Unless you're an idiot like me and decide that you want to upgrade your flame with Laurentius for some reason. You ever have those moments where you just want to scream at your past self? I think I'm having one of those right now. To be fair to myself, I was in the middle of finishing up editing for the one-shot contest while recording all of this, so sleep and mental processing power weren't exactly in high supply. But with Fire Surge, the red Tearstone ring, and Power Within all activated, the Taurus Demon's health bar melts right in front of our very eyes. We also get to see the underappreciated fact that you can move while casting Fire Surge. Not very quickly, mind you, but sometimes that slow backpedal is just enough. Taurus Demon down. Moving right along. I make my way through the lower end at Berg, slowly dragging all the enemies to the bonfire in an attempt to save my mana, and after a few short bursts of Fire Surge to get the dogs off my back, a quick cast of Power Within, and a few gentle love taps from Capra is all we need to get into hyper mode. It's a pretty short fight after that. Another boss down, albeit a closer fight than I would like. And so, with a dangerous amount of souls on hand, we head on down to the depths, where I very quickly free Laurentius, then run all the way back up to Firelink Shrine so that we can finally upgrade my flame to anything better than 0. Apparently, I was carrying enough souls to get my flame to +10. Not too shabby. That puts my magic adjust all the way from 100 to 155, which means my Fire Surge just went from doing 38 damage to about 59, and all for the low cost of 55,000 souls. Wow, what a steal! But in reality, it actually kind of is. My damage may have only increased by 21, but that's 21 damage per tick. and that's not even counting all of the multiplying we get to do because of hyper mode. In practice, just having power within active is more than enough to melt a boss down. Combine that with the red tearstone ring, and you might as well just give me the gargoyle souls now. Now that's the pyromancy damage we know and love. Oh, how I missed you. But with both bells rung, we can now push forward to the mid-game. But first, a distraction or two. The Moonlight Butterfly scared me at first when my flames weren't hurting it, but it turned out to just be some typical Dark Souls aiming jank that was easily fixed with free aim. An easy boss that I almost didn't even need to hyper mode for. Time to move on. Back to the lower Undead Burg, where I completely forgot about Griggs, the Sound Sorcerer. Griggs here has a very important job for this run, selling us the Bellowing Dragoncrest ring, which gives me somewhere between 20 and 24% extra damage. The math is a bit unclear. But after spending a goodly amount of time grinding up the souls to get that, I put on another Dan Olsen video and ground out the remaining souls I needed to get my Pyromancy Flame to plus 15, then went down into Blighttown to find Quelana so I could ascend my flame.
Young people, you must have patience.
Oh, don't you worry. I have patience. Besides, how many souls could you possibly... I'm gonna need some more video essays for this one. Hold please. Whew, boy, okay. That somehow took both more and less time than I expected. But with that, our Pyromancy Flame is maxed out, and now has a whopping 190 magic adjust. Wow, that's like 2/3 of the best magic catalyst. So that's a bit disappointing. But you know what isn't disappointing? Realizing that it doesn't matter one bit when you've got a freaking flamethrower as your weapon of choice. Bye-bye, Stray Demon. I hope whatever hell I sent you to was better than the one you were currently in. But with all the side quest bosses done for now, it's time for Sen's Fortress. Honestly, nothing to really see here. Just the usual rusty blades and guillotines, you know the ones. As for the Iron Golem, I thought it'd be funny if I decided to show off and do my very own one-shot. Unfortunately, the Iron Golem didn't enjoy the joke very much, and neither did my skull as it shattered against a loose brick. In the end, I happily settled for a normal kill, and the Iron Golem went down with plenty of mana to spare. Which means we're officially done with the early game and can finally move on to the mid. Speaking of mid, let's go visit Priscilla in the Painted World. I don't know why everyone gets so excited about her. Everyone knows Melina is the best waifu. Oh god, I'm sorry, I take it back! But in all seriousness, this area just falls to pieces with Fire Surge. Look, I even got a legitimate one-shot on the Undead Dragon without using Power Within. Oh, no you don't. Get that shit out of here. I'm not doing that. I've seen the horror. You can't make me. As for Priscilla, I singe her for a bit, and then very quickly realize how much fun I'm not gonna have in this fight. Because you see, dear viewer, Priscilla doesn't lose her invisibility due to damage. She loses it when you do enough poise damage. And guess what pyromancy has literally 0 poise damage? Thankfully, after taking several life hunt scythes to the face, I was able to determine where she was hiding and simply blast her down. But it was a bit messier than it should have been, and it came down to the last tick of damage. Probably could have done that one better. But if we're gonna do things better, we should probably get that going ASAP. Because after a brief jaunt through the halls, we've reached Ornstein and Smo. Let the nauseating amount of testing begin. My first test revealed that Ornstein doesn't do very well against a hypermode Fire Surge, with about 10 ticks taking away half of his health bar. As for Smo, I'm sure it's roughly the same, but I'll be honest, being at less than 20% HP around both O and S has me shaking. So I decided to give just using Power Within a try to see if I even needed to engage hypermode. And you know what? I think we could have done it. Ornstein's health bar is melting before my very eyes. If it weren't for the whole problem where I'm actually terrible at video games, we probably would have gotten the win there. It took some practice, due to Ornstein being a slippery boy, and my own inability to keep track of Power Within self-inflicted damage, but after several tries and some steady progress, it was over with 8 surges to spare. Honestly, not that bad. But with O and S scratched off our list, it's time to start chasing the Lord Souls. First up is Pinwheel and Nito. Undead in this game tend to be pretty weak to fire, so heading this direction to start was kind of a no-brainer. Pinwheel gets absolutely annihilated, and after Nito so kindly removed Tony 1 through 3 from the equation for a few seconds, and then did me the kindness of knocking me into hypermode range and keeping the Tony Barbershop choir down, I was able to knock Nito to 0 with 2 quick bursts. 1 down, 3 more to go. Hell of a good start. But before we do that, a slight detour. I made my way into the Darkroot Garden, convinced the Hydra to swallow flames for a bit, and upon killing it, got the prize I was looking for, the Dusk Crown Ring. This ring gives you 50% more spell casts, but takes away 50% of your HP, which in our case means that we get 120 bursts of Fire Surge. I also went out of my way to collect the Crown of Dusk, a piece of headgear that gives me an extra 20% spell damage. I mean, yeah, it makes it so that I take extra damage from spells as well, but telling a glass cannon that it'll get a damage boost at the cost of taking more damage is the same as telling it that the damage boost is free. I put the new damage and mana bar to the test with Gwendolyn, with extremely satisfying results, then introduced my findings to Seath, who immediately got jealous and killed me so that he could claim them as his own. Hey Dark Souls, why don't these prison bars work properly? As someone who's been doing an increasing amount of range challenge runs, this physically hurts me. But after giving the prison guard a quick high five, it's back to business, and my business today is with Seath. Now here's the million-dollar question. By giving myself 50% more mana, have I actually reduced the amount of damage I can do over the course of a single attempt? Well, while Seath dies a quick and somewhat painful death, let's do some napkin math. For the sake of simplicity, let's pretend my Fire Surge does 10 damage per cast. With my current build, we have 120 casts of Fire Surge, which means 1200 potential damage. However, if we take off the Dusk Ring and return to our Hyper Mode setup, then we have 80 casts at 15 damage per cast, giving me a total of 1200 damage. Huh, interesting. By this logic, both builds are equally viable as far as damage is concerned, but the Dusk Ring would easily come out on top due to it being far less dangerous to use. Easy victory, right? Well, not quite. Because video games are made by human beings and because math is hard, more often than not, the math doesn't work the way you think it would. According to people smarter than me, the red Tearstone Ring is actually multiplying your weapon motion value by 1.5, not its damage. Shown here by Trev the Dev, this means that while it usually comes out to be 50% more damage, certain weapons and spells actually overperform. Which means that as badly as I wish the Dusk Ring and the red Tearstone Ring were equal in damage, and I could just go about the run doing the same amount of damage a bit slower with significantly more health, that probably isn't the case. So, when it comes to bosses like the Four Kings, who test the limits of Fire Surge's mana bar, Hyper Mode is the only way to be sure that it's a victory, no matter the cost. But with 3 of the 4 Lord Souls out of the way, it's time for the final stretch. Time to get into some shenanigans in Lost Izalith. First things first, we need a way around Ceaseless Discharge. No Black Flame easy mode for us today. No, today we get to play Hotfoot across the lava fall, screaming and crying the entire way, before finally stepping through the boss fog and beginning the boss gauntlet. And it's right about here where we can see the difference between the Dusk Ring and the red Tearstone Ring in action. Using the Dusk Ring, my damage is looking not great. About 400 damage after almost 10 mana. Not enough to win. But equip the red Tearstone Ring, and the damage might as well be incomparable. It's that wide of a difference. Remember that napkin math we did earlier? Yeah, just go ahead and eat that napkin now. It's all useless. Anyway, on to the next bit. The Centipede Demon. Guess who's fire immune? This guy. Now, I have been a good boy today and left Solaire alive and well, so we could have another go at doing an escort quest, but considering that it's easier to convince the Centipede Demon to give up the ghost, and because I'm still having flashbacks from the indirect damage run, I think we're just gonna let the Centipede Demon do the work for us and move on. Which brings us to everyone's favorite boss. Boy howdy, can't wait. Dodge roll into branch number 1, dodge roll into branch number 2, then accidentally press R1 due to sneezing in the middle of the fight, and kill the Bed of Chaos with my fist. What? You weren't there. You can't prove that didn't happen. Wait, what do you mean you're in the walls? What, with the 4 Lord Souls dead and gone? We've only got one portion of the game left, the DLC. Why do I feel like this is going to end badly for me? First up, the Sanctuary Guardian. It shouldn't be too hard. We might have a problem. So you know how every single Dark Souls DLC that has ever existed tends to give every DLC boss unreasonable elemental defense? Yeah, kind of the same story here. On top of that, the bosses in the DLC are extremely aggressive, making it very difficult to find time to actually get a hit in. Because contrary to the rest of the game, these bosses don't just sit there while you line up a long-winded attack. If you're not getting in and getting out, you're getting out permanently. After paying back a not insignificant portion of the Karma IO for the Dark Souls one-shot contest, I was finally able to take down the Sanctuary Guardian after 30 minutes of attempts. And look, we still have 3 mana to spare. That's not going to be a problem later. And you know what? I was right. It wasn't, because it's actually a problem right fucking now. Artorias is so aggressive and so beefy that I can't even get close to touching him. Even when there's a brief moment where I can get a burst of flames in, we're looking at about 500 damage for 10 mana. Oop, hold on a minute, didn't have the Crown of Dusk on. Okay, there we go. 52 damage per tick. Okay, let's see. 52 times 80 is 4,160. Artorias has 3,750 health, so that means we can beat him, right? Well, technically yes, but here's the problem. Artorias never sits still, and Fire Surge is a very short-range spell, which means unless you're able to get 73 of your 80 mana to hit him, and do it all within the 100-second time limit of Power Within while remaining in Hyper Mode, no, you can't win. At least, I certainly can't. Not on this run, anyhow. There is a build that involves being cursed and equipping the Sanctus Shield that lets you stay in Hyper Mode without worrying about Power Within killing you, but at this point in the run, I've already missed Sanctus, and, against all expectation, I've put points into Vitality, which is also a no-no when trying to create that permanent Hyper Mode build. So, can it be done? Maybe. But can it be done by me? No. which means there's nothing else to do but finish the run. And no, this is not an invitation or a challenge to kill Artorias with Fire Surge. I know you think it is and that I'm just being coy, but I swear to you it's not. Please don't do it. People care about you. Now then, Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder. Let's put that name to the test. Eventually. It took several attempts to remember how to parry again, what with it being a hot minute since I played Dark Souls 1, and I did have to play around with the build a bit to get it right, but I think I've got it. Dust Crown Ring for higher health, the Dragon Crest Shield for extra flame resistance when I inevitably panic and need to retreat, and a little bit of luck to bring it all together. And there you have it. Dark Souls 1 beaten with just Fire Surge. Mostly. You know, despite a couple of the brick walls, this was actually a lot of fun. Certainly more fun than just a simple pyromancy only run. And after beating Bloodborne with the flamethrower earlier in my career, it was nice to return to it again, even if it was a more primitive version. And who knows, I've heard tale that Fire Surge might be present in Dark Souls 3 and Demon Souls. Could be worth a look. But for now, that's all I've got. Take care of yourselves, be good to one another, and I'll see you all again soon.